Years ago, I was walking with someone on Shabbos in a neighborhood that didn't have an Eruv. And as we were walking and talking, the person pulled out a tissue to wipe their nose. And I was challenged at that moment. What do? I don't want to embarrass this person that he didn't know that there was not an Eruv, they couldn't carry a tissue. But on the other hand, how could I let him just continue to carry it? We're walking for a few more minutes. So what should I possibly do? Rav Chaim Volozhin has a suggestion that solves the entire problem. And this suggestion comes about because out of all of the mitzvahs mentioned in Parshas Keedoshim, the one mitzvah that is so incredibly delicate is the mitzvah of Hocheach Tochiach Es Amisecha. The mitzvah to give rebuke to your fellow Jew. If you see someone doing something wrong, you can't just stand idly by. You have to say something. You can't just let a person continue to sin. We have to say something. But Rav Chaim Volozhin says there's a great challenge here. Because on the one hand, you have to say something. On the other hand, you can cause a chet, you can cause a sin by embarrassing the person. So how are we able to say something to someone while preserving the person's dignity and not embarrassing them at the same time? And so Rav Chaim suggests as follows. If a person is able to relate to them doing something the same way or similar in their own life, and says it to the person who is now doing the Aveira and shares it with them, then that person won't be embarrassed. That person will realize, oh, you did this also? Okay, great. I'm glad you told me. I feel bad. I'm not going to do it anymore. But at least I know that if you did it also, it doesn't make me into such a terrible sinner. And so Rav Chaim Volozhin explains that there is nobody who is without sin. And so going back to the story of walking with the person with the tissue, if I'm able to relate to the person who's carrying the tissue, that I was also once in a neighborhood where there wasn't an Eruv and I also ended up carrying something without realizing it, then that person is not only not embarrassed, not only that I preserve the person's dignity, but the individual feels that they're now connected to me in a way that we have something in common. And by following Rav Chaim Volozhin's suggestion, we can fulfill this mitzvah of tochacha without jeopardizing the dignity as well as the self-respect of another individual, of another person. Too often, we are quick to criticize others, and we don't necessarily realize the consequences of our facial gestures, of our words, of our emotions with our arms until it's too late. This message is a reminder of just how cautious we must be, and when we do so, we're able to fulfill a mitzvah and also preserve the dignity of our fellow Jew. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.